Hey, theoretically, this is working. Maybe. Is it? Ooh, that's some not great stream quality. I don't have access to all these features. Why is my camera? Hey, well, closer. Maybe it's working. All right. 100% live. Fantastic. Scripture, 1983. If you can hear me, wondering if you've done a Cold Steel Warrior series. I have not done a destruction test of the Warrior series. Nope. I did a review. I still have it, but since I paid the monies for it, I'm not terribly inclined to break it. So no, but it seems like a pretty beefy blade. I have no reason to suspect that it would be more inclined to fail than some of the other stuff that you might have seen on the channel. I suspect it would be pretty durable, especially given the amount of steel and that it's not made of a particularly brittle variety. Okie dokie. Well, stream. Strange stuff. Okay, well, anyway, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. I don't have any particular intention for stream. I am done with my coffee and in between tasks. And I'll have to go do daddy duty in about an hour. But I figured it's been a minute since I did this, and I might as well hop on the stream, answer sword-related questions, look at myself in camera and think maybe a ponytail was a better choice, that kind of thing. So yeah, anyway, that's all I got. I don't have any particular plans. Joe, sword friend Joe of Steel Forged and Fire Sword and Knife, did a video not too long ago. I'd encourage you to check out his channel if you haven't, incidentally. But he's a cinematographer by trade and knows a lot about cameras, and talked about some of the things that he's done to make cinematic, good looking stuff. And it got me reflecting a little bit on all the stuff that I've I've tried over the years to try and make cameras participate with me and learn about the software. So if nothing else, I can ramble about the creation process from an equipment perspective and some of the tools that I have and how useful they have or have not been, if you're interested in that kind of thing. But I figured I'd kind of just let chat dictate whatever the conversation might be. I'm kind of game to go till about a boot 11. Anyway, have you ever had a sword made from Rado swords? I've not. I think they are absolutely fantastic looking. Between Radovan and Pavel, both of them have really interesting shapes. Basically, I think like the Sugata, as it's called, I think the shape of this sword tends to be unique even among smiths outside Japan. If I look at a lot of the American smiths that make swords, they have more distinct shapes, and Rado swords in particular have just, I don't know, they're very pretty. I like the way he makes his steel. I like the shape of the blades, and I've seen just a lot of very intricate detail from fittings, from the horimono, I think is what it's called, the kind of sculpture and stuff in the sword. All of that looks really, really excellent. And so I've been tempted a few times to buy one. I actually have it's unfortunate I'm doing YouTube streaming, so the screen sharing and whatnot doesn't let you show, but he made me a kind of an outline of a set of fittings with swirly mitsudomes on them that I was thinking of doing for a project. Ended up going a different direction, so I didn't, I always felt bad that I asked him to like draw a design for me and then never followed through. But one day I intend to. It won't go to waste. But if you are thinking of procuring an item from him, I think he makes absolutely beautiful stuff. Sword friend Scott, he made a YouTube video about his Radovan sword, or Rado sword. I think it's Radovan. Anyway, it looked great. It looked like a very spectacular looking sword. Alex, I don't know who will show up today. I don't plan these and I don't script them. and I don't announce them, so it's entirely possible nobody. But you're here, so we can make conversation. Hopefully, my son is not being picked up too much by the microphone as well. So there's a lot going on in the house, and the baby is not keen on being quiet at the moment. So sorry for ambient noise. Usually I can edit that out, but that's the downside of live, is that there's no such ability. Ruled, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. The Baron sword dying. Yeah, well, I guess that's my shtick. Generally speaking, when I get swords, I destroy them if they are review samples. There is a delineation in my process, though. If I don't pay money for it, then not always, but the vast majority of the time, I break the sword, and it makes me feel better about doing it. And I feel like it's a more useful thing if it's mine, and the intent isn't to, because I'm not going to do giveaways and things like that. I've talked about that before, but I feel like it's useful in cases. There's been a few times where swords have had systemic failures in a particular point that wouldn't have been recognized unless it was pushed to failure. And so I feel like it's a, if nothing else, a useful or perhaps entertaining at times service to provide. And since I don't have a whole lot of information about historical accuracy and some other stuff, smashing it against things is maybe the use I can bring to the conversation. But I'm sorry you were sad to see it go. The Alexandria, the broken bits went somewhere, and Swordfriend Saeed got those, and he made it into a like a camp machete kind of thing that was pretty cool looking. So that, generally speaking, they live on in some way, though the Baron has not at the moment. Again, I don't have my glasses, so Mitch, no, it's Mach 20 million something, 2.0. Yeah, I think the Oroshigane likely takes a lot more time from Radovan to make, and so it certainly makes sense that there's a price difference. I think from what I've seen from his mono steel variety stuff, I've been tempted to buy one myself. They look very, very nice, and he's a very capable smith, making some very elegant and nice looking designs. Even his simple stuff looks very nice. But when he's, it seems like, given maybe the time and budget, the capability that he has is really, really nice. Some of the swords just look spectacular. He made like a white and silver one some time ago, and well, for me, it's hard to make a white sword look good. Like, white and silver is a very eye-catching theme, and that, I don't know, I've heard with cars that, like, if you paint them white, you get to appreciate the lines and stuff. I don't find that to be the case aesthetically with swords, that if everything is white, that it looks good. But that sword looked really good, which is hard to do, at least for me subjectively. The all white swords are not my bag of tricks. But yeah, he made one look really good, so it's good to see. Yes, well, more swords will be broken. There's more to do in that category, Ruled. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Sword friend Joe, he's on. I mentioned Joe earlier with his camera stuff. We can talk about camera stuff if there aren't sword and knife questions. Joe, your stuff got me thinking about the potato I used to film stuff on, and now the thousands of dollars in stupid equipment that I used to take photos and do YouTube stuff and lenses and all of the. It struck a chord with me because I initially started filming basically on a potato. There used to be a website called Woot. It's probably still around, but it got bought by Amazon, and they had like an action camera when they were still pretty expensive. And I got this potato thing to film on, and that was what most of my original videos were in. They were in like a 320 by 240 aspect or resolution, because I didn't know that Movie Maker, like, I didn't know how to render things properly. And yeah, I used the free software, and I'm still pretty cheap, even though I've spent a lot of money on it. But it got me thinking about the journey of a creator and what it has taken to make more passable content over the years. Can broken bits be reforged, melted, or hammered back? Not being a smith, that's tough for me to answer. And sorry, as more people come in, I get further and further behind in chat. But in short, I mean, theoretically, my son disagrees with me because he's playing the blacksmith side of things. But you could take the metal bits and do something with them and incorporate them into a sword. Hammering them or forge welding them back together in a meaningful way, like you might have seen on Lord of the Rings, as far as I'm aware, that is not a terribly effective thing to expect. So probably not like stuck back together. I couldn't take the tip and the base of the blade and stick it back together and have it be in any way similar to what it was. But the steel that is from that blade could be reincorporated into a sword and in some way used in a meaningful way for a sword. I again apologize. Baby is having a tantrum. It's always fun to hear on live. Can anyone tell me, how bad do you hear the baby crying in the background? Is it bad, or is it just I hear it a lot more than you? I've tried to turn my microphone so that it's only me, but anyway, it could be. I hear that on meetings for work. I'm like, I'm sorry about the baby crying, and they're like, we don't hear it. I don't know if that's the case here though. Anyway, Riled. Oh, I'm not sure how to say your name, but hopefully I've answered the question. I don't think meaningfully a smith would be able to take the pieces, stick them back together, and have as functional or a more functional sword. But you could, cut the swords, say the metal pieces, hammer them back into a piece, and then like reforge it. But it would probably be more cumbersome to deal with. It'd probably be more useful in this particular case to grind it into a shorter type of sword and then rehilt it and use what's left of the blade for something else, which inevitably may happen to the chunk that I have left. Not sure yet. Alex, I'm sorry. Again, it behoove me to, actually, I suppose I can. Look at this. I can move my screen. No, now it's further away, but now I can at least look straight while I do it. Don't have to do camera 1, camera 2. Let's see. But I can't zoom in. So nope, we're gonna move it back over here because otherwise I can't see what you're typing. What do you do with the scabbards left over from broken swords? I'm assuming you can use some of them. They don't. Yes, they can. The sayas I don't generally break, so they are sitting around in the back, and sometimes they fit across the kind of. Sometimes they will fit another sword. I had a very long Bugei samurai for a time, and I used it in the saya that I got from Swords of Northshire with a swirly mitzdome on it for a while. But then I got rid of it. So anyway, sometimes yes, they do match. The European swords I haven't found. I really only have a couple pieces from Dark Sword Armory that have been sent to break, and some from Ronin. The Ronin pieces are not particularly robust scabbards that I've found great for doing much else. The Dark Sword Armory ones, though, are pretty nice. I just haven't found that they fit anything else that I have particularly well. I think one of them maybe it's a thinker, but yeah, I don't. They kind of sit in a corner and stack up. That's more or less what they do. Joe, you want to do a Tech Talk live in February? Sure. Yeah, I thought about, maybe when I hit 10 years on YouTube, which is still a couple of years away, I will maybe evaluate and look over the videos over 10 years. But I remember I did used to film on a potato, and then I got a better action camera, and that still was bad. And I tried more action cameras because that was a thing. And I had a Nikon SLR, but it didn't do video particularly well. The autofocus was bad. At least I found it very challenging to use. When I got mirrorless cameras, they hold video quite a bit better, and so that changed things around. Joe, you were also the one that said your sound is mud butt, and stop it, get a better microphone. So I did that, so you could actually maybe hear my voice, and it didn't sound as tinny or far away. You didn't, which I imagine from a viewer perspective, it's irritating when somebody has a really, really quiet, far away video that you have to crank up. You hear a bunch of background noise. It's very irritating. if you're trying to listen to it in the car or something like that, and then an ad comes on, and because you have to turn the volume up so high, it blares you with an ad. So I've tried to make steps to fix that. Katana, I hate to watch you breaking swords. Most of us will never abuse the point. That's entirely true. Most people will not abuse a sword to the point of failure. But if you're going to cut with it, and you're going to cut even medium targets, then bad cuts will happen. And abuse up front can have similar effects to several bad cuts on medium, more forgiving targets. How easily blades bend and things like that, how quickly they return to shape. Also, you might hit a stand, you might hit a peg, you might hit something like that. And routine cutting on more abusive targets is helpful. I think it at least shows you, or gives you some rough idea approximately how durable the blade is. All right. But yes, I get it. A lot of people hate watching me break stuff. And especially, like, I get that, like, I have a thing and you would cherish it and I'm smashing it, but that it's not really going to change. They're sent to me for the purposes of review. I'm not going to give them away. And so the most meaningful thing I can do with it is push it to the point of failure. There maybe some argument to hanging on to them for a longer period of time and giving some feedback about how well they hold up in normal use over a period of years. But it becomes very challenging for me to really execute on that and use a sword consistently over a period of years, or do thousands of cuts with it and tell you how well it holds up. The testing regimen to do that isn't feasible for me to do. Anyway, I get that you don't like it, though. A lot of people say they don't like. They sometimes find it entertaining, but don't like watching me do it. Yes, the steel did make a difference on wait time. Blade would be done by the end of the month. Yeah, I'm glad he's able to hammer stuff out. HV Skyline, yeah, you're welcome. Tizando makes good Eido for Eido. And incidentally, anyone looking for an Eido to practice forms or a sword that is dull, I would advocate using an Eido. Tizando makes really good ones. I found that the inexpensive variety from Minasoka, I think is how you pronounce it, but their cheap ones are like $300, and a cheap Eido from most companies in China are around $100. So what do you get with that disparity? Well, it feels better. It's not as raspy when you move it out. The balance and portion is a little better. It works better for kata. The tensioning and things like that tend to be a little bit better. The function of the ito, like how tight it is and stuff like that, tend to be better out of the spots in Japan. They tend to make a better sound as a training tool. So if you get one with a bohi, they go whoosh through the air a little bit easier. So, and they're the zinc aluminum ones you don't have to clean. So depending on what you're doing, depending on the style that you're studying, you're going to get oils on it. I mean, even if you do basic noto, it kind of runs along your hand and there's not a huge amount of oil on the base or on the top of your hand, but it's still there. And depending on how sweaty you are, you could get it rusty. And so you have to clean the steel ones. And if that's all things that you don't mind, then doing a steel one might not be bad. But if you're looking for an Eido, I would rather have a $300 Eido than a $300 sharp sword in most cases. The fit and finish I find to be better for that particular task of Eido. At least that's my opinion. So I hope you find one that you like. Excalibur. If you have an NVIDIA GPU in your system, you can easily remove the background noise with RTX. Well, fair enough. Hopefully you're not hearing it too much. But he is. My house is kind of a weird shape, but he's like just kind of a little bit over there behind a wall made basically of paper mache, and and he screams really loud. Yeah, there's a bunch of recommendations I've got for background for software, but YouTube integration. If I want to do random videos like this, I just find it easier to click yes on YouTube and not have more stuff to deal with. And the RTX, all the broadcasting software tends to, I get a little lost in it. I have enough trouble with the easy button. Felder, how many swords do you have at the moment? I don't know exactly. 60, 70, 100, somewhere probably under 100. Have Have you taken a look at the Albion Warwick? I've seen it. I saw a review. Phil Martin did a review. I saw people cutting with it, and it looks interesting. I have not held one in hand though, and it doesn't look particularly like the sword that I don't know. It's not one that I would that I lust over from Albion. The Viceroy is one that I like. The Regent, the Earl, those draw my attention a little bit more. When I was at Albion, the Vigil as well is one that I really like the feel of. The look didn't do too much for me, but the feel of it was really nice. And they make some other odd shaped ones as well. But the Warwick isn't one that I've played with, and I don't know that I will. It's just not one that I'm after. If you want an Albion, send them now. Wait a year. They're a reasonable investment, if nothing else. Out of all the swords, I mean, if you think about it, 10, 15 years ago, some of the Albions cost $500 and they're the same models. And if you put those up for sale today, they're worth their retail or asking price. And Albion is one of the few companies out there that if you don't like it, you can more or less get your money back. It might be a little different now. COVID times and stock and demand is weird, but with all the mass production swords that I've had and traded and sold and futzed with, getting like a 50% return is often about the best that you can hope for. So being able to buy a sword from Albion and then even not lose that much is reasonable tuition. So if you see one you like, it's not a huge risk anyway. When am I going to do another drunken review, Anonymous? I'm sorry if I missed you on a previous one. Sorry, I'm behind chat a little bit. I don't know. I probably will. I'm trying not to drink as much because I've got boobies, and I'm trying to pull back. And I could stand to not have the calories, but I don't need to be inebriated to do the voice. It is. I don't know. I've lost my edge a little bit in terms of drunken humor, though. So I will try. It's on the list of things to do, but I figure actually turning out reviews is maybe better. Is there a thing that you would like to see a drunken review on? What would be funny for a drunken review? Huge fan of the Anathar vid. Much appreciated. Anathar, unfortunately, has ceased. Only the shards of Anathar remain. I don't know if April Fools will bring another. Maybe I should polish off the trilogy. I don't know. Joe, bunch of cutting in Florida Swamp, and how well the Practical XL cut through vines. Yeah, the Practical XL is a very capable kind of medium cutting sword, or even hard target cutting sword. They tend to be pretty strong stuff. So not a terrible surprise. The XL is a really inexpensive, effective sword for cutting. Probably like the if you're asking around like the under $300 and very capable training tool for doing tamashigiri or cutting maybe like targets, vines, thin branches, saplings, that kind of stuff. It's tough to think of a better option. English Marauder, I will probably not be destroying an Albion to the point of failure because I have to pay for them all and they're very expensive. And generally speaking, if Albion sent me a sword, I would gladly test it to the point of failure. I have offered as much. They have not elected to take me up on it, which I can't fault them for because they have a year-long queue, and me saying I will break it is not going to. There's not really much to be gained by doing that. But I too would like to to smash one to the point of failure. I would find that very fun. But alas, nobody wants to send me one to smash, and I am too cheap to take the ones that I paid a bunch of money for and smash them myself. Which I think maybe bears reminding. I do smash a lot of swords. Those are review samples. I don't take the very expensive things that I have a lot of money in and smash them intentionally. Sometimes it happens, but I don't do it intentionally. Jacob, any more LKChen pieces to review? Yeah, I have one up there. I can't remember what. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's one of their Dao. I really like the one back there. So spoiler alert, it's the Hang Dao maybe. I was asked not to break the Magnificent Chujian, so I will, but I have to do something at least more aggressive with it. I still have to break the Heavenly Horse. And then I think I'm caught up. Yeah. And I haven't received anything else from LK Chen, but I'm still behind. I hope that some of their new models are really exciting. I think they're making some pretty cool stuff. And I know my last review of the Song Handao kind of showed that the blade had some manufacturing issues, and it looks like they're taking steps to address them. So I hope the best for LK Chen. I hope they keep sending me stuff to review. I've had a lot of fun playing with Chinese swords, and it's kind of ignited an interest in them that I would say wasn't there before. I've gotten a deeper appreciation, especially for some of the like the Magnificent Chujian is a great example of one that I don't think I would have given a second look to. Not that I don't like swords of any type or culture or style, but it's a double-bladed straight sword that's maybe a little more expensive. And if I had seen it even for a deal secondhand, I don't know that I would have jumped at it. It just wasn't something I was as fond of. But after having it, I've been kind of tempted to buy another one just so I can twirl them around and compare them. So it's certainly given me I've learned a lot from the experience of doing it, if nothing else. Spicy Mike is here. I have the chef knife is holding up. It rusts a lot. So Spicy Mike, if you are unfamiliar, this is Spicy Mike, Forge and Fire champion, and a guy that I've been going back and forth with on swords. He has been the beneficiary of a few of the broken sword related things and made them into other swords and knives and things like that. Very, very capable and talented smith. And I have a chef knife from him, and I really like it because it's got a swirly Mitsudome burned into it and a really cool handle. I did a review on it some time ago. My wife is not a fan though, because it rusts quicker than we're used to. I need to get another one from you, Mike, a lazy knife made out of something that doesn't stain so quickly. But otherwise, in all other ways, it's an awesome knife. It's light, easy to use, and I have maybe pried apart bones that I shouldn't have with it and tried to cut things that maybe I shouldn't have, and it's held up really, really well, sir. A snippet of the drunken voice. Shaddy, what would you like me to say in the drunken voice? I can read your voicemail. Hello, you've reached Shaddy. Am I saying it right? I'm not here because I don't like you. Go fuck yourself. That's how my voicemail sounds. John, I bought myself a wakizashi from Youngly Sword Company. It's awesome. I haven't heard of them. Do a drunken review on your a larger stick from your backyard. Make them very loud. That might be a little too dry, Alex. That's a solid suggestion and well within my sense of humor, but it might just be even a little too dry for me. There's a lot of hours that go into editing a video. Doing an elaborate review on a stick, though I guess I've reviewed Boken, which are basically elaborate reviews on elaborate sticks. So I'll noodle on it, but I'm not sure about picking them. The idea is funny though. I miss your drunken reviews, Matt. Well, I don't know that I miss doing them, and the voice makes me raspy. Inspired you to drive into the sword world. I'm sorry, but you're welcome. Since I rule the YouTube, don't do reviews, do stuff on YouTube. I encourage you to do it. Hopefully there's room for everyone's opinion here, and the more sword reviews that are out there, I think the more educated the community is, and at least the more perspectives are out there. And good luck. Send me some stuff when you get it out. Joe has also elected to give feedback. You just have to solicit it from him in very specific words. Hello Real Swords. The Tangs on. I think that's the Round. That's the big new one. It looks interesting. A lot of their swords look interesting. That bat kind of glaive Yari looking spear thing also looks really cool from them. Uh, Talking about the LK Chen side of things, the shield that they make looks really cool. There's not really a product there that doesn't look very interesting and entertaining to play with. I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to play with as many as I have. And I know my last one ended on a bit of a sour note, but that's certainly not my opinion of LK Chen in general. Jacob, really hope they fix the issue with the song handout. Absolutely, me too. I think they will. I don't have anything to share that shows something fixed. I'm certainly happy if they fixed it, sent it back to me. I would go and whack it on the barrel in the backyard and be happy to make a follow-up video that explains the issues resolved. I got the impression from KK when I was corresponding with them on email that they took it really, really seriously and were trying to fix it and get to the bottom of it. And I think they've bought a lot of goodwill in general. They're like any other sword company, though. Well, they're not like any other sword company, but they're human beings that will falter. And I think it says a lot more about a company and when they screw up, how they handle the situation. So I'm curious about people that bought that product and what they do to help the people that have already purchased the product. But generally speaking, I think they do a good job. That's at least my take so far, and that seems to be what I read from the community. Not that there aren't issues or things that aren't up to snuff by everyone's standard, but generally speaking, I think they offer a pretty good value and something unique, given that they have historical proportions and good command of dynamics. The Uyao and the Silver Sparrow Meow. Yeah, I haven't gotten to see any more though. So they all look good though, and every blade that I've had from LK Chen at least had a particular feeling to it that I would say was positive. So if there's a style that you like, then chances are I think you're probably pretty likely to enjoy the piece that LK Chen makes if it's in the genre of things that you enjoy. Like I wouldn't expect a big giant cleaver to be particularly light, but it's probably going to be lighter than it could be if it were overbuilt by another manufacturer. Joe, getting close to canceling your Huawei order. 10 months now, no response. Yeah, and I saw that your Skydro stuff got stolen, so I'm sorry you're having some bad luck, muchacho. Shaddy, can you get a sample of the drunken voice? You just got to tell me what am I saying in the drunken voice? Can we get a sample of the drunken voice? Like that? Maybe that's what you wanted me to say. Spicy Mike, I've got AEBL stainless. I don't know what that is. Made 2 knives, fork out of it, abused the hell out of them, and they're still holding up. Yeah, if it's more stain corrosion resistant, like I would sacrifice a little bit of wear, because my wife, in fairness, does the vast majority of the cooking, and the chef knife that we use the most is the Shun Chef Classic. I think we have a few chef knives. I know I talk mostly about swords. I like knives as well. There's a few chef knives. My personal favorite, of course, is the Spicy Mike knife. And Mike also made a knife out of tools from the garage of my deceased grandmother when she passed away. I used to go over there every day, or every Sunday anyway, and make breakfast with my family. And it was a thing we had going on for years. And when she passed away, it still makes me tear up thinking about. But there were some tools that were used by my grandfather and such, and I sent them to Spicy Mike, and he made a chef knife out of it. And that gets kind of passed around the family and is, I don't know, a keepsake that if you like knives, something I might recommend you do for sentimental reasons. So that one is also a favorite, but I do enjoy the one that with the purple handle. And but I would sacrifice some of the durability, I guess I would say, for something more stain resistant, because durability doesn't. None of them hold up, because my wife will cut directly on the granite countertop or right on top of glass, or jam the handle, the point through things into the glass container underneath. And there's very little, not a lot of care given to preserving the edge or finer point of a knife. So I have to go out there and sharpen them frequently. And so I would rather have that happen sooner and at least not have to clean them and maybe even keep them in oil. But worth looking at. Yeah, that's the only thing that keeps it from being used by my wife a lot. She liked the size and shape and weight and all of that kind of stuff, but it was the fact that it stains, because she cooks for an hour, kind of sets it off to the side, and then we do, I get to do the dishes later. And so, which isn't a bad deal. She does most of the cooking. I do some of the cleaning. So it's all in all a net positive for me, but I need something that doesn't make the food rusty. Kills her shashka ends up her way. I do have a shashka. I don't know if it's a stainless steel one, but it doesn't feel proportional to like weight and stuff. I do. It would be nice to have a shashka, but I haven't found one I want to buy yet, I guess I would say. There's some that are mass production and remakes or made, but I don't know. They've been on the pricey side. And I watch auctions on eBay pretty frequently, and shashka tend to command $1,000 or more. Do you like the looks of the Albion Baron? I do. I don't have a Baron. No, I don't. But I do like the way it looks. I like the look of wheel pommels, and I'm pretty sure the Baron has a chubby little wheel pommel on it. It's pretty rare that I find one that doesn't is fun to use though. So I understand that at least I've heard anyway, that Matt Easton and other scholarly people that understand and study historic European martial arts say that if you're going to study a historic European martial art and your purpose is to do that particular thing, that using a more predominant sword from the period that you're studying, or a more like tool for what represents the average for the time or period or place or whatever you're trying to do, it makes sense. I don't do that though, so I have the luxury of just swinging around whatever I happen to like. And so scent stopper pommels, 8-sided scent stopper pommels, fish tail pommels, those things tend to feel a lot more comfortable, and I find them more appealing. So I don't mind the looks of a wheel pommel. I certainly I prefer not to own them. If I'm a sucker for a deal, so I end up owning a lot of them. But my choice would be, if I given the ability to buy whatever I want, I would choose probably something else. Keith, I'm a fan of the of LK Chen. I got the hand dowel that was water damaged, and the Chen Bros were incensed to send me a new one free of charge. I rewrapped the original and blackened the pommel. Awesome. Did you if you rewrapped it, did you see any issues with where there was weld on the guard or anything like that? I didn't know if there might be a way to resolve some of the potential flaws, but it would probably take unwrapping the handle. So interesting. Glad to hear that you had a good customer experience though. It seems like that, not that everyone is satisfied all the time, but it seems like the majority of the time people seem happy, and I'm glad to hear that. Bro Wilco, what do you think of Citadel katanas, and which do you like most? I've had I've had a few of the Citadel. I've had the Lotus, I've had the Ocean, and I've had 2 Lotuses and 2 bamboos, and I kept a bamboo. That's one that's on my rack back there. So I like that one. It's kind of a classical looking katana. I like them. They have kind of handmade fittings that, if I think of Citadel and Motohara as kind of on even planes, the Citadel pieces tend to have a handmade fitting set on them, which I find appealing. They're really well made, but the Motohara ones, in terms of tools for Japanese swordsmanship, tend to be a little bit better shape wise. They tend to have a little better fit if you're doing Iaido or the like with them. The Citadels that I've had, most of them have had a little bit of binding in the side, not a lot. They're very sharp. They're good cutters, but they're not the best tool, and they have some unique quirks, I guess, that are unique to Citadel, and they're not bad. But it does, in my mind, make Motahara or the evolution blades edge out a little bit ahead. They're great and awesome and fun stuff to do, and I've done some very good cuts with Citadel. I had a triple wrap mat that I swung around and cut through, or maybe it was a quadruple. I don't know. I've done some very successful cuts with them, and they have nice tight ito, and they seem worth the money that they're asking, which is a lot, but they're very enjoyable swords to use and pretty to look at and have some handmade kind of stuff to them. Everyone wants the drunken voice. Just make it a ringtone. Hello, sword friend. You have a call. Your mother's calling. Answer the phone. God damn it. I don't know. Yeah, I suppose you could make it a ringtone. I don't know that it'd be a ringtone anyone would want to hear, but you could. People have asked me to use the leave their voicemails, angry voicemail messages. There's the 20. You know, I think of it as like the 20 is now like in a world where one man, a long time ago in a galaxy far away. There's a couple that I can do, but yeah, most of the time the novelty is the ringtone, or not the ringtone, the voicemail. Not that anyone leaves voicemails anymore. What kind of monster actually calls a person on the phone? I do. I'm not a fan of texting. Yes, more of a cinema voice, Joe. Like in a world where one man could make a difference by breaking swords in his backyard. Jet Menson stars in Dumbass Katana Man, sword friend guy. That's the intro to the Kislear makes them with a pretty unique stainless recipe from the USSR. Never seen a destruction test on them. Usually sell new from 350 to 600. Yep, and I would be happy to break any sword sent to me. I don't know about happy. Sometimes I am sad to break them as well. There's been a few that I thought were even for me were somewhat painful, but I don't know that I would want to break. I wouldn't spend $350 and then smash in my backyard intentionally. I might try an abusive cut or like cut into something that's not, but I wouldn't take it to the croquet stake of doom if I had my own money in it. At least, no, I can't think of doing it. If a sword is sent to me from a vendor and they're down with me breaking it, then I'll do it. But that's more because I don't know. It makes me feel weird to keep them, and sometimes I'm encouraged to or told to, but I don't generally like to. I prefer to end up neutral in the end, or at least with as little value. There's some salvage value to the steel, but generally speaking, it's minor in comparison. Zozo just bought a 1060 carbon steel katana for only $150 from Northshire, and it's amazing. Good. I find that 1060 swords tend to be the bee's knees in terms of value from most of the sword vendors out there. Chinese Smiths, for whatever reason, the 1045, 1060, 1095, maybe T10 in there, 5160, 6150. Those types of steels are very common from the vendors, and they seem to do a pretty solid job in making very capable swords from the pieces they're most familiar with. And 1060 is chief among them, as I think of swords that have given me a hard time to break. The 1060 ones really balance the stupid shit that I do with a sword in the backyard, smashing it on things, being forgiving, kind of springing back a little bit, and simultaneously holding a reasonable edge. So I think they're a solid option. Kenneth, when I rewrapped the original Handau red instead of black, I found pretty good wood on the hilt, no complaints. Best to use double-sided tape to wrap. Yeah, the Handau that I had, most people after the review said that the weld marks were likely a point that weakened the sword, and that maybe it was overheated and there could have been other issues with it, but that the tack welds to keep the guard secure were likely a larger contributing factor, or a big contributing factor anyway. So I didn't know if there was a way to, I don't know, sand down the welds or make the area less prone to breakage. Hello, Shane, Mr. Excalibur. Good morning from California. You are up. I guess it's not that early in Cali, but early enough. Hello. A Shobu Bear Blade. Aaron, the thing that I find with Shobu blades, and I guess it depends on, there's a wider definition for Shobu blades, but as I think of it, the spine of the blade effectively runs all the way up to the tip. And so a lot of times the way we see Shobu blades represented from Chinese manufacturers is basically just the absence of a yokote, or the line that distinguishes the tip. But that isn't really, at least as I read, a Shobu blade is supposed to be coming to a more acute point and be reinforced by the tip of the kind of the thickness of the spine running all the way up to the point. And from my understanding, it stems from when the Mongols invaded and they wore heavy leather armor. And I'm not a historian, so take all this with a grain of salt. But they needed basically a leather punch, something to move through the leather armor. I don't know why it wouldn't have been useful before, but anyway, most of the blades that you see in the Shobu style don't really have a Shobu style, at least not one that I would say at least strictly follows the purpose. Not that they can't, but I don't generally see them that way. I've only seen kind of custom varieties fall in line with the actual reinforced tip all the way to the point, rather than maybe a slightly more narrow kisaki in the absence of a yokote. Incidentally, I don't know where you can really get one. It'd probably be a custom thing. I don't often see bear blades listed, and Shobu doesn't seem to be particularly popular. Anyway, that wasn't very helpful because I couldn't give you an answer, but you might try ordering a custom blade. I'm also in the market for a bear blade myself, not necessarily in the Shobu variety, but I'm finding it challenging to find bear blades at an effective cost as well, because I want to build a My Little Pony katana. Jacob, if LK-Chen offers, try their Uyao Dao or Japanese waist saber. Yeah, I would be happy to review anything LK-Chen sends me. It's an open offer to most manufacturers, LK-Chen among them, that if they want to send me something, happy to review it. I'm not sure how keen they are since I've broken so many of them. But yeah, I hope they knew that kind of going in, that was my shtick. Joe Zisei swords, hopefully getting close to a sample. Sword from them, really want to get one in my hands. Curious about them. You remember? Yeah, I do. I think they look really good. Apart from Huawei, they're one of the only vendors that has spent a lot of time on the tang. Hanwei usually does, not always, but usually on a lot of their swords has a cleaner tang as well. Different, larger file marks and stuff like that. But the Zisei ones looked very interesting, and some unique designs and some unique character. Totally worth checking out. Not cheap though either. I mean, they're pricey, but they look good. And the photo that I saw on the review that popped up on SPG also looked very compelling, which is nice. It's nice to see more boutique-y things. That said, the fittings on them look, similar to other fittings I've seen. So hopefully they have a lot of tasteful options. Anyway, the photos look good. I'm interested to see what you get out of them. Ryan, I just got my Musashi 45 carbon steel katana delivered yesterday. $60 one that you recommended. Badass blade so far, and $60. You just pay more for your pocket knife. Yeah, a lot of people pay more for the pocket knife. It's a fantastic training tool, especially if you want to just try something and have fun with it. Practice sharpening to go get the dumb out of you. Swing it at a branch. It's also the one that I had wasn't particularly hard, so it's not as likely to turn into a helicopter of death. Though if you're gonna do dumb stuff with it, my only suggestion after having one sword kind of come out of the handle is maybe replace one of the Mikugi with a brass peg or something like that to just make sure that it stays in there. Not that I had that problem with Musashi. I put that thing through hell and it stayed together for the most part. Mr. Excalibur, what is the newest thing you are looking at these days? I have a well, at least next reviews for me. I'm working on the Gustav from Lands Connect Emporium. I have that review. I've got it shot. Spoiler, it's a really fun, stout, choppy little guy, and I can see why Adam from Lands Connect Emporium likes it so much. It grew on me. It was not my... I didn't like it when I first got it, but I now do. I have to also get the monster Kriegsmesser reviewed. I have a katana from Romance of Men, another one. It's the white one sitting back there. They're sending another sample. This one has better, but still similarly loose Ito, and they're committed to fixing it. And so I'm saving the review till I have one that's got the fixes that they're putting in place. Otherwise, what am I looking at? I'm constantly fishing for deals, but the market's been really tapped, and most of where I get my the fodder to talk about has been from secondhand stuff, and the things sell really quickly and aren't cheap, so it's tougher to justify. There's been a lot of really cool high-end European swords out on the market, though, and so I'm kind of tempted to dip my toes further in the water as it relates to the custom variety of those. Otherwise, I don't know. Anything that happens upon me, that's I tend to, every time I think about what I want to review, I end up with a wall of swords that don't move because I get other samples and I put those at the head of the line. And so things kind of rot on the wall for a long time before I get a chance to talk about them. I think I've had some of those from since, I don't know, 2016 or something like that I've said I would get around to reviewing, and I just keep getting other stuff to do. Hello, Joseph. And again, sorry, I see more folks are joining. Sorry, incidentally, I have a baby. He's loud. I'm not sure how much it's coming through the mic, but he at the moment is not happy and goes in between very happy and unhappy. All right. Hamad recently tried to cancel my Huawei order as it's taking forever, but I haven't heard anything from them. Raven Bird, I don't, if it makes you feel any better, I actually contacted them about a My Little Pony katana bear blade, and they have not responded back to me either. So I think they're just busy. I don't suspect that you've been scammed, and I wouldn't expect an answer for their Chinese New Year's going on. So I wouldn't suspect that you're going to hear much back in the near future. And they were probably scrambling. Anyway, it's not for me to make excuses for Huawei. It sounds like they're really behind for a lot of people on getting answers. But it also seems like some people are getting their swords. I don't suspect that they are scamming anyone, but that is honestly debatable and dependent on your definition of a scam, because saying it will take 3 months or saying it is in stock and then taking 10 months to deliver could easily be construed, a breach, and they're, a scam. I don't think they're trying to, in fairness, though. I think they're just behind. But make your own call, cancel your credit card, make your own call on that one. It's up to you. I would be irritated as well if that helps. Melissa, is the mystery man in black someone who can be contacted? I can't find information on him. Yeah, he likes it that way. Yes. If you reach out to me directly, I will provide you with the Mystery Man in Black's contact information. He does not like me to name him on YouTube publicly, which is, I don't know, it's unique, I guess. A lot of people prefer that I throw business their way, but he's given me the okay to give people his contact information privately. So if you're interested, you can reach out to me privately, and I will provide you with his contact email. I will tell you, though, that he is very, very busy. So don't be surprised if you don't hear a response back, kind of thing, because there's a lot of people who want sword work done, and it's even if you're a return customer, it can be tough to find a spot on his bench. Anyway, it's a good problem for him to have. I'm glad that the sword people are busy. What do you think about Kanei? They went away a while ago. It's not something you see very often, but I thought they made good swords. I reviewed a couple of them. I've had a couple of them. They were all always pretty nice, and I know some other sword collectors think very highly of their quality. If you find one secondhand, it's worth looking into. But I don't think they're around anymore, and I don't know if they're still producing under a different name. But if you spot one, they were nice. Could you do a review? Could you do a video reviewing your subscriber swords? And if so, I'll send a picture of mine. I am happy to do a review of a subscriber sword, but you got to send it to me. I can't do it. It's tough to do from photos alone. Happy to chat through it. Happy to give you thoughts or feedback, but in order to do a review, I need to be able to film it and futz around with it and kind of have it in hand to develop an opinion. So if you are keen on sending something as well as providing the return shipping, I am keen on reviewing that thing. Also, do know though that I've talked about it a little bit. I'm behind. So even if a person is willing to send me a sword and willing to cover the shipping both ways, it still takes me a long time, and I can understand why it would make somebody uneasy to send a stranger on the internet their property and let them have it for a long time. Incidentally, another tip of my hat to Sword Friend Ian for letting me borrow his Lands Connect Emporium collection for the better part of 2 years now. SZCO supplies rustic hand-forged hand and a half for $35. It's worth a buy just to see how fun to see it bend. I haven't seen that one. Interesting for $35. Yeah, if you can find a cheap sword that's even quasi proportioned correctly, and it's inexpensive, then it's cheap tuition to get the dumb out of your system. That's generally the way I think about it. You don't have this, but how are things, Matt? Are you and your family holding? Yeah, I suppose I generally focus on swords. Family's good. Work is crazy. I work from home, generally speaking, so it's been a very different experience on a personal note to have a baby, work from home, and actually get to see that interaction. When my daughter was very young, I would leave for work in the morning and then come back at night, and I would miss the whole awake time. So while sometimes when you're streaming, it's rough to hear background noise from a baby, I don't know that I'd change it. It's been really nice to see little guy grow up and spend that time. Everyone's healthy. I can't, I can complain about being busy, but it's a good problem to have. Better busy than bored, as they say. And I have video games and swords, so I am blessed and fortunate. So generally, yes, I would say good. Thank you for asking, Shane. How are you? Mr. Excalibur. Regarding Huawei, they got really popular right after their non-eBay store went online. COVID hit, and sword reviewers went nuts trying to get their stuff, and they got hammered. Yeah, it's possible they've been around for a long time, and people have viewed them favorably. So I know there's been a few people talking about Huawei, but they had a kind of a following and high regards in the sword community beforehand. So I'm not sure, but if they got a boom in business, then good for them. I hope they can maintain their product and up their production. I wish them success. Kenneth, when I look at reviewing, I don't know what that is. I gotta copy it and look on my other screen to figure out what you're even talking about. Kukri. I don't know why that. Yeah, Kukri. I do have a couple cookery from the Nepalese Cookery House, and they're relatively inexpensive cookery that, yes, I can. I can review a cookery. I think I've talked about them once, but more an overview or maybe in passing. I can certainly review one of them if it would be helpful. Smash cookery. Alex, I'd love to see a rainbow pony katana. Well, it's a serious consideration. I was not. Again, it was a long-standing joke with the Mystery Man in Black about doing a rainbow My Little Pony katana, and now it may actually happen. So I'm working on how to make a My Little Pony katana, and Rainbow Dash is currently the front runner in terms of ideas, just because it would look silly and bold and obnoxious and wonderful at the same time. And I'm sorry, camera here, text here, and I'm constantly catching up on text, so you get to see the pretty side of my face, I guess. John, do you ever sharpen your own swords? How do you go about it? I use a belt sander from Harbor Freight, a 1x30, and knife sharpening belts from Amazon. I do 1,000, then a 600, then a 600, then 1,000 grit belt, then a leather strap with jeweler's rouge on it to kind of get the final edge. I've gotten kind of handy at it, but that's how I do it. Sometimes I'll use a ceramic thing to pass over to maybe even hone it up a little bit more afterwards. But that's generally how I do it. It's not the best way to do it either. That's not a traditional, well, at least with katanas, using a belt sander, not a traditional thing, and it creates a secondary bevel most often and can futz with the geometry. But if you want something keen and sharp that pops pool noodles and does kind of the cutting that I like to do for fun in the backyard, I found it to be an effective way to keep an edge on a sword. Melissa, you're welcome. Yeah, just ping me. I can get you the contact info if you're so inclined. There's a few other people, though, out there, depending on what you want to have done. Not that I don't encourage the Mystery Man in Black. You've heard me talk about him a lot. Josiah Boomershine is another gentleman that I work with a lot. He's got a public profile on Facebook for Josiah Boomershine, Japanese Sword Arts. I've always been very satisfied with what he's done. He's great. I usually end up sending him stuff for polishing, but he can make you a whole sword. It's not necessarily cheap. He can make fittings. He can do polishing. He can wrap and do all sorts of stuff. So he's another guy to look at. And when I say like I work with him, I'm happy with the work, and I don't want to understate how happy I am with the work. But I also want to note that like I get really frustrated when I send people stuff and they tell me how long it's going to take, and then that doesn't happen. And so Josiah and the Mystery Man in Black are two people that have consistently done what they said they were going to do, and it's made my stress level a lot more palatable. Because when you send somebody stuff and you've got a project you want a time, there's times that I'll want it for class, or I'll want it for a project, or I'll want to sell it or something like that. And the times that I've had people, other craftsmen, quote a time and then take 2 years, it's just been stressful. It takes the fun out of it, and it pollutes the project. And then I did, if it was for me personally, there's been swords that I really liked and I wish I had kept, but I also hated looking at them because I just remembered the stress of having to bother people every week and feeling like an asshole and wondering if I got scammed. It's not a fun feeling. So that's another aspect of why I like working with the two gentlemen I've noted, is they're reliable and consistent with their work. It's not to say that it's down to the second. There's some give and take with timetables, of course, but generally speaking, I haven't waited double or triple the disclosed time to have anything done. Ooh, I'm even further back now. Sorry, I'm making my way through chat. On Hanban site, they have bear blades of all types. I have not bought anything from them before. Aaron, you would also like to send some pics? Send the pics away. Happy to take a look. What do you think? Penodic? Learning to read people's YouTube names. It's challenge in and of itself for me. What do you think of the piece, what do you think the prices of what do you think of the prices of cold steel? I can read. Trust me, I really can. Do you think they're above what you're willing to? Yes, I do. At least on Cold Steel's website, but so is Hanway on their website. Generally speaking, they're sold at Cult of Athena or another authorized distributor for less. To me, Cold Steel, at least the swords, tend to seem a bit on the overpriced side for what you get. Not egregiously necessarily, but when I look at like Huawei in comparison, a $500, what $500 gets you in a Cold Steel product versus a Huawei product and what the differences are. Or even by contrast, if you're looking at like a Practical XL or something like that, I would think that between the Emperor series katana from Cold Steel, which I'm fuzzy on the prices and I don't have them up in front of me, versus a Musashi XL, also a big wide blade, I would rather have the Hanwei piece. I'm not terribly impressed with the value for money in the sword side of things, but that's probably dependent on the sword and the intended use. I don't think they're egregious, though. I don't think they're too crazy. I'm coming up on time here. My stream will end in the short time. So if you have questions, throw them out. I'll try to make it through, but I'm not even sure if my camera battery should last a minute. But I'll try to get through. But I'm going to wrap up here in the not too distant future. Hopefully that answered the question. How do you feel about wacky, full-blown, drunken attempt at forging a sword? I don't think I would want to do that, Chatty. I'm not a particularly crafty person. I can comment on crafts. I'm a fan of quality and refinement, but I don't know if I can smash forge a sword good. Arms and Armor is a local company, and some time ago they had a knife making class or something like that where you would forge a dagger, and I missed that it was happening and didn't get to register, but it's tempting. I'd like to try, but I certainly don't think it would come out well. And I don't know that I want to be drunk around, red hot metal. If anything, because I sweat already, just if it's already hot, if I was drunk on top of it, I'd probably tip over pretty quick. Shane, no worries. Happy to answer personal questions. People just don't generally ask them. Which is fine. Mr. Excalibur, Matt, thinking about getting out of the sword business. Not really sure I'm contributing anything substantial. Just too damn expensive. Yeah, I certainly would argue that you're contributing. That I don't think is in doubt. When you add as much feedback and stuff as you have, I certainly think it's a contribution. There's a lot of people that don't get to see the stuff that you're talking about, and if anything, having it in hand, talking through your perspective and taking time to do so is a contribution, absolutely. But it is a very expensive hobby to keep up with, and my advice is keep an eye out on the secondhand market. Maybe it will stabilize and you will get a chance to trade or swap, and it becomes the way that you can sustain it. That's how I have done the vast majority of the sword related shenanigans I have, is by buying them secondhand, because at full retail and then the subsequent loss, I don't think I could do it. We'll still have videos coming out the rest of the year, but that might be it. I hope you don't. I mean, I hope you I hope you keep going. I don't know that you necessarily have to keep doing it as consistently, though. I mean, if you have a sword and you're excited about it, share it. But if your intent is to have a recurring thing going, then pivot. Try talking about the stuff that you have, or going into a different nuance. Yeah, it's a tough thing, but I hope you continue for what that's worth. All right. Hopefully I muted my computer and not the audio. The rainbow thing, I think it could be done with some class. I hope not. I hope it's not classy and it's bold and loud and irritating. Eighth Dinner, you don't etch all when you sharpen? No, I don't. I don't etch the swords when I sharpen them. I keep going, and it ruins the polish basically. So if you're sharpening a sword, then it becomes shinier or different, and it certainly stands out as a secondary bevel, and changes the polish. And usually I muck it up and scratch the sword up quite a bit when I do it. So I'm way far behind on chat here. Sorry it's taken me so long. Should do a video about sharpening the swords. I could do a video on sharpening. There's already videos out there about sharpening, and I think they cover it better than I do. And I don't know that I would encourage somebody to try it. It's not the best way of sharpening. It's just the easy, lazy Matt way of sharpening. So but I can if it would be useful. Yang is Swords of the East a website legit or a scam? I've heard people buy from them and get swords out, so I don't think they're a scam. But I've never purchased from them myself. But I've heard they're a legitimate website, again, for what that's worth. Gonna catch up. Where can I get Tsunami Ito? Fred Lohman Company, or Lohman Company, is the only one that sells it. I think they're going to have more. I'm not sure what they have in stock right now. You mean Chinese Ito? Namek, I don't know about Chinese made Ito. Some websites probably sell it, but I'm not sure. Namekawa, Yamato, Lohman Company, those all sell stuff that from what I can tell. Kenneth, how can you contact me directly? In YouTube, there's an about section. You prove you're not a robot. My email shows up. In most videos, there's also links to Facebook and stuff like that. I don't push email or phones out directly, though, so you'll have to, unfortunately, navigate the maze, prove you're not a spam bot, and then get it. I know you're not, but if I put my email address in, then I get bombarded with spam all of a sudden. So that's why it's hard to get to. Sorry. Joe, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us, being such a strong voice in the sword community. I appreciate that. I don't know what to say in return. I don't think of myself as a strong voice, but maybe a consistent one. I'm glad I've been helpful, if nothing else. And I'm glad that the sword content and random rambles that I put out there have been useful or entertaining and provided you with something. Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right. Trying to get through Danimal. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you? Center, I'd be interested in some full-length Same for myself on the budget side. Where would you look? The things that I mentioned earlier, Fred Lohman, Namekawa, Yamato, Tazando, I think might have some sword parts as well. I'm not sure where you buy full wraps or full skins of Samegawa, though. Wormfrost, hi. Learning to read Drift Dexes Tech, Drift Dex Drift. I thank you. It's weird to be thought of as an inspiration to anything, but I sincerely appreciate it. And it's humbling to from so many people who have heard that whatever the heck I'm doing is helpful, at least in some way, or inspiring. If I've inspired you to make content, I'm glad for it. I started making sword videos incidentally because there wasn't a review on the sword that I spent a bunch of money on, and it bummed me out. So I started doing something, and I'm glad it's been helpful. Ian, have I tried the BCI katana? No, I do have a BCI Compulon that was a gift from a subscriber, Sword Friend Corey, and he is. I haven't heard from him in a while. I should probably check on him. But yeah, I do have a BCI piece. It seems very similar to TFW, and I would speculate that their katanas may be similar, but I don't know. I have not, though. I have not played with the BCI katana. Be happy to, but I haven't tried one. And the Compulon is, I think, the only thing I've had from BCI. Where do you get your racks attachments for your swords? So the wall hangers are little clips that I found. You can find them on eBay. They're usually pretty cheap. And then the racks actually I had to build myself, and I made videos about how I did it. I needed racks that went out, and so the two on the sides go 2 out, and the one in the middle goes 3 out. But I had to make them because I couldn't find anything that did what I needed it to do. So I went to Lowe's, bought lumber, and then I did it with a jigsaw, a spindle sander. I think at least at the time, jigsaws were like $30 or $40, and then a spindle sander was $70, and that was more or less all that I needed. But I had a skill saw and a table saw to do some other stuff too. But you could be done. You could buy the lumber anyway. I'm rambling, but now I might have just contracted somebody else because the lumber was like a couple $100 to buy the boards. John. Oh, nope, you're not talking to me. Okay. Mr. Excalibur, thanks for the pep talk. Yes, email later about the DSA Baron. Me and Sword Friend Arthur, Mr. Excalibur, need to do a chat. We both reviewed the Baron and can collect our thoughts in a ramble session. It'd be good. I will ping you, Arthur, and we'll get that organized. Or Joe, go review a DSA Baron, and then we can all three talk together because you do a better job of streaming conversations. All right. Jacob, would I review your katana if you send it in? Contact me. Generally speaking, yes, as long as it's representative of a thing that somebody can buy and you cover the shipping. I have no objection to doing it, and you got to be patient because it takes me a while to get through them. But yes is the answer, generally speaking. All right, I'm coming up on the end, so I'm trying to get through them, and questions have stalled, so that's good. I might actually get to the end. We'll get over it and take the compliment. Yeah, Joe has given me compliments before, and he sees me brain fart when that happens. And now that makes me think that's why he keeps doing it, to watch me flummox and get red-faced. But I appreciate it. I do appreciate the compliments and the praise and the kind words around making a sword channel. I'm glad that I'm humbled that people take the time to watch, and that the work that you put in, because if you've made a sword, not a channel, if you've created anything on YouTube, there's time and effort and stuff that goes into it. It doesn't seem like it. Obviously, I've prettied myself up for this occasion, but time certainly goes into making videos, and if they don't help, then I don't know, it would certainly pull the wind out of my sails a little bit. Fetus the Great, there's a name. Hopefully I'm reading that right. Wanted to know, are there some things you look for to find a reputable dojo? You're kind of at the mercy of where you live. So no, I mean, there are people that drive, at least for the Toyama Ryu school that we're in, or when I go, it's on pause right now for COVID reasons, but there's some people that drive from out of state to get there, and so sometimes you have to go pretty far to get legitimate training, and you're kind of at the mercy of what's around in your area. And unfortunately, I know is the answer though. When I started learning Japanese swordsmanship, I asked somebody who I knew that studied, and he knew a guy that was in the area looking for a training partner, and that's where the Katori started up for me. I was kind of expressly forbidden from doing that on camera, though. That's part of the deal you sign up for. You don't get to do it on camera or talk about it. I can talk about being in Katori, I can tell you, but I can't teach it or anything like that. I'm not. That's part of what you sign up for. So then I studied Toyama Ryu because I was cutting things on YouTube, and I'd like to learn how not to be such an ass at doing it, and to give more effective critiques on swords. So I started studying Toyama Ryu. Because another person locally said, hey, I study it. It's a thing. We cut a lot, and it would help you look less dumb on the internet. And so that's how I started doing it. They both happened to be legitimate things that were very good, and I was very fortunate to kind of stumble into them in my area. But I do know what you mean. There's some McDojos out there that don't do the real thing, and it's when you're when you're acknowledging I'm a student and I don't know anything and I want to learn, it's tough to find legitimacy. But you can go and talk, learn some stuff, even if it is a McDojo, it may have some value. And then once you know something, you can kind of compare it to some of the other stuff that you might see out there online. All right. Any idea why Walter is no longer doing videos? I think he does, just maybe fewer and further between. Last I saw from Walter's video, I'm just a subscriber. I don't know personally, but if you mean Walter Sorrells, because that's the Walter that I think of when you say it, I think he's still doing stuff. Send me. I couldn't send you a Baron, Joe. I could only send you a bear or the Ren. Swords of Northshire are a good choice, Jim. Yes, they have good service, and the swords that come out seem to be good. That's the short answer. I said I was going to end pretty soon, so don't get me started. But yes, you will get a sword, and it will likely be good. A center. Oh, John Walter. No, I'm not sure. I don't know why he stopped making or hasn't made as much content. I couldn't say. I haven't talked to him about it. All right. Do you recommend the Squire line from Albion? Yes, I really like Albion. The Squire line is a little less beautification, but you still get very good construction. Incidentally, Alientude, sword friend Kyle, he is, I believe, at least if I'm keeping up with his collection correctly, has the Albion Mercenary and the Type 15 from the Squire line, and so I haven't had a Squire line sword, at least I don't think, and I can't really make an accurate comparison. I don't have one, but I think he's got some that he picked up secondhand now and can probably do a comparison side by side. So hopefully that's something we see, unless I'm misunderstanding what's happening. So, all right. But yes, I would. I very much enjoy Albion stuff. I think they do a good job. I've enjoyed the products that I've had from them, and so if the Squire line pieces are like their counterparts in the next gen line, then yes, not having a slightly as pretty a grip and as bright a polish, given that they're not particularly super polished anyway, would not be a big deterrent for me. All right, I am going to wrap this stream up. Yes, I'm going to wrap this stream up. I will eventually get around to filming some more videos, and I just got something I've been lusting after for a while. Joe might be able to appreciate this, but it's a micro 4/3 lens. I know Joe's a big full frame guy, but I've been trying to find a good deal on this camera lens for some time, and now I got one, and I'm going to see how video works with it. And you probably will not notice any difference whatsoever unless you're a camera nerdy thing, and you might see creamier bokeh in the background. But I have it's an Olympus 45 millimeter, and because it's a micro 4/3, it's like getting a 90 millimeter equivalent in full frame. We're going camera talk now. That's how I'm ending it. I'm just throwing it all the way over to camera nerdery, which is not the focus of the sword. But if my videos look weird in the future, I'm playing with camera lenses. That's why. Anyway, that's really all I got, folks. I appreciate all the people tuning in. Joe, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate everyone's time for hopping on. And yeah, I will. It seems like these are more successful than I expect. So I may very well, on a random weekend, hop on in the morning or afternoon and do a live, if that's a thing. That is fun. Oh, anyway, all right. I'm just rambling and pattering on. I'm going to stop now. Again, everyone, cheers and thanks for watching.